few months ago, I had my first brush with the abyss, an experience so chilling it branded itself into my memory. It began innocuously enough. I was lying in bed, drifting between consciousness and a sinister dream. Or was it more than a dream? In the dream, I was paralyzed, pinned to my bed like a helpless insect. My leg, my own damned leg, betrayed me, yanked down by an unseen force. A shapeshifter hovered at the edge of my vision, its form flickering grotesquely. One moment it was a black cat, its green eyes glinting with malicious glee. The next, it transformed into a shadowed man, faceless yet brimming with malevolence. I woke up then, or thought I did, but the horror only deepened. My room felt like an Arctic tomb, a bone-chilling cold seeping into every pore of my body. Yet I was drenched in sweat, my breath coming in ragged, panicked bursts. A suffocating weight pressed down on my chest as though the air itself conspired against me. Then came the realization: I couldn't move. My body was a prison, and my mind a caged beast thrashing against the bars. My head tilted slightly to the side, my gaze fixated on the closet across the room. It loomed like an open maw, a void teeming with hidden horrors. I knew, deep in the marrow of my bones, that I wasn't alone. Something was in that closet, lurking, waiting. My gut screamed danger, yet my body refused to respond. My thoughts spiraled into a vortex of terror. This is it. I'm going to die, I thought. Something is going to kill me. Time stretched and warped. Seconds became hours, each one an eternity of helpless dread. Finally, mercifully, the paralysis shattered. My body surged into motion, and I leaped out of bed, my heart hammering against my ribs. My first act was instinctual, driven by primal fear. I lunged for the light switch, flooding the room with its artificial safety. Without hesitation, I slammed the closet door shut, as though sealing away the malevolent presence I was certain lingered within. I couldn't sleep after that. How could I? My mind replayed the ordeal over and over, dissecting every detail, every sensation. The 2 hours of rest I had managed before the nightmare felt like a cruel joke, an appetizer before the feast of my torment. But even then, I knew this was only the beginning. Something had changed, awakened perhaps, and it wasn't about to let me go. The following nights were no reprieve. Each time I closed my eyes, I felt the darkness press closer, wrapping itself around me like a suffocating shroud. The shapeshifter had left its mark, a seed of dread that grew with every passing hour. Sleep was no longer a sanctuary but a portal to terror. It started subtly, almost teasingly. I would hear whispers, faint and unintelligible, threading through the silence of my room. At first, I told myself it was the wind or the creak of old wood settling. But deep down, I knew better. These whispers carried a malevolence that sent chills crawling down my spine. One night, the whispers grew bolder. They formed words, or at least something close. "Come closer," they beckoned, their tone both seductive and sinister. I lay frozen, staring at the ceiling, refusing to give in to the invitation. My heart thundered in my chest, each beat a desperate plea for dawn to come. Then came the scratching. It started as a faint, almost imperceptible sound, like nails raking gently against a wooden surface. It grew louder, more frantic, echoing from the direction of the closet. My breath hitched. My mind screamed for me to move, to run, but my body betrayed me once again. The paralysis had returned. This time, I didn't just feel the presence, I saw it. The closet door, which I had slammed shut, was now ajar. A shadow darker than the surrounding night spilled out, coiling like smoke across the floor. From within the void, 2 pinpoints of crimson light emerged, burning like infernal eyes. They locked onto me, and I felt an overwhelming wave of hatred and hunger. A voice, guttural and inhuman, growled from the shadows. "You cannot escape me. The words reverberated through my mind, each syllable a dagger of fear. I wanted to scream, to fight back, but I was trapped in my own body, a prisoner to my terror. Just as I thought I would be consumed by the darkness, the paralysis broke. My limbs jerked violently, and I bolted upright in bed, gasping for air. The room was silent, the closet door shut tight as if nothing had happened. But I knew better. The line between dream and reality had blurred, and whatever haunted me was no figment of my imagination. I began to dread the night, avoiding sleep for as long as I could. Coffee became my lifeline, its bitter taste a small price to pay for staying awake. But exhaustion is a relentless foe, and eventually, I would succumb. Each time I did, the nightmares grew worse, the shapeshifter's presence more tangible. The night it all came to a head, I was utterly drained, my body a husk barely held together by frayed nerves. I'd been awake for nearly 3 days, gulping down coffee and energy drinks as though they could somehow ward off the inevitable. But no amount of caffeine could keep the shapeshifter at bay. When I finally collapsed onto my bed, I knew the battle was lost before it had even begun. I didn't drift into sleep, I plummeted. My consciousness slipped into the void, and I found myself standing in my room. It wasn't the same, though. The walls pulsed with an unnatural energy, their surfaces writhing as if alive. The air was thick and oppressive, carrying the faint stench of decay. And then I saw it, the shapeshifter, no longer confined to the shadows of my closet. It stood before me in its full, grotesque glory, an amalgamation of forms that defied logic. Its body was a patchwork of feline grace and human deformity, with limbs that stretched unnaturally and a face that seemed to shift like liquid. Those crimson eyes burned with a malevolent intelligence, locking onto me with predatory intent. "You cannot hide from me," it hissed, its voice a cacophony of growls and whispers. "You belong to the darkness now." Something inside me snapped. The fear that had paralyzed me for so long was replaced by a boiling rage. If this thing wanted to claim me, it would have to fight for me. "Get out of my head!" I screamed, the words tearing from my throat like a battle cry. The shapeshifter lunged, its form twisting midair. I reacted instinctively, grabbing the nearest object, a lamp, and swinging it with all my strength. The impact shattered the lamp and sent the creature sprawling, but it didn't stay down for long. It rose, its form now even more twisted and monstrous, and charged again. I fought with everything I had, using fists, furniture, and raw defiance. The room became a battlefield, the air crackling with a malevolent energy as our struggle intensified. I could feel its claws tearing at my flesh, its snarls echoing in my ears, but I refused to give in. For every blow it landed, I struck back with equal ferocity. Finally, I reached my breaking point. Summoning every ounce of strength, I grabbed the shapeshifter by what I could only assume was its throat. Its body writhed and contorted, trying to escape my grip, but I held firm. "You don't own me!" I roared, channeling my rage into a single, desperate act of defiance. The creature let out an ear-piercing shriek, its form dissolving into a swirling mass of shadows. The room around me began to collapse, the walls and floor disintegrating into the void. I felt myself falling, weightless and untethered, until suddenly I woke up. I was back in my bed, drenched in sweat and gasping for air. The room was still and quiet, the closet door firmly shut. But something had changed. The oppressive presence was gone, and for the first time in weeks, I felt truly alone. That night marked the end of my torment. The shapeshifter never returned, and the whispers and scratching faded into memory. But I wasn't the same. The experience had left its mark, a reminder of the darkness that lurks just beyond the veil of sleep. Even now, I sometimes catch myself glancing at the closet, half expecting to see those crimson eyes staring back at me. The darkness had been defeated, but it had not been destroyed. It lingers still, a shadow on the edge of my consciousness, waiting for the moment when my defenses falter. And when that moment comes, I'll be ready.